I was recently sent over an early screener for the new movie A Desert, directed by Joshua Eckerman. I gotta say it up front, there will be some minor spoilers for this movie because there are some pretty big twists early on that, as you know me, I like to go into movies blind. There's a bit of a twist right at the beginning. The first act of this movie is pretty much not its own story, but its own perspective, its own plot line. It feels more like an extended prologue than its own individual act. With this being said, the plot that you should know going into the movie is a photographer out in the desert trying to reignite his passion for landscape photography. He focuses a lot on desolated or abandoned places where nature is retaking what was once a man-made development. Abandoned malls and movie theaters, abandoned military facilities, or neighborhoods. And while on this journey of rediscovering his love, he decides to try something new. He steps out of his comfort zone and decides maybe it's time to focus on the people that are still occupying these places. But in doing this, he has a run-in with some kind of shady people that, well, he has one fun night with them, and then things start to spiral. Now, here's where we're going to get into minor spoilers, because it's still just about the 45-minute mark of the movie, so here we go. The obviously psychopathic and scary-looking dude kills him, right just out of nowhere. Not really out of nowhere, it was kind of building up to it. Our protagonist should have seen that coming. And the rest of the movie follows his wife and a private detective trying to find out what happened to him. Now, in any other movie, this 45-minute prologue would be very annoying when the bulk of the movie is trying to figure out what happened. But the approach this takes isn't unraveling the mystery of what happened. It's kind of this very poetic reenactment. It's recreating the photographer's storyline through a different lens. This private detective goes to all the same places that our protagonist was wandering, trying to find himself in. And now we have the protagonist just trying to find the guy. There are a lot of mirrored shots between these two halves of the movie, but it's never a perfect one-for-one mirror between the two halves of the movie. There's always something a little off, something a little different, something unseen when the private detective goes through everything. In this way, it makes a kind of repeated storyline feel very engaging. It's almost like a little game for the audience. But what I don't like in this storyline, because this is a review, this isn't an advertisement, what I don't like is all the stuff with the wife is admittedly kind of pretty boring. Until the end. Not the very end. We'll get to the very end soon. But until the climax, all the stuff with the wife, my brain just turned off for her. I did not think she was very compelling. She was very one note. My husband's missing. It's kind of mean, but it's true. Now, how the movie presents its story is one thing, but what's really going on in this story? The photographer's whole philosophy is he's capturing these images of nature taking over the land again after man has moved on. In his photographs, humanity is being eroded away. And it's once he actually decides to focus his images on humanity that he actually starts to see it firsthand. And that's what the whole movie is about. It's about at least from what I gleaned from it, it's about the erosion of humanity. When he does focus on these people of the desert and gets in on their life in a way, he quickly realizes how far from humanity he's fallen. And it's the same thing with the private detective. On the trail, we see how his own humanity has been eroded away over time. You know, in some movies, this character would be, look what the job has done to him. Look how far from grace he has fallen because of his work. But in this film, that's not at all. It's just the passing on of time. How the sands of the desert will eventually blow in and cover up what was once there. So too has his humanity been blown away in the wind. And for no other reason than that's just time. The film opens with this sequence of the photographer capturing this image of an abandoned movie theater. He does so with an old 8x10 fancy film camera. There's this image he's trying to capture of a grander time of the theater experience. Later on in a flashback, him and his wife are discussing a photograph he's taken of a drive-in movie theater. It's a less regal experience, and even the films they're talking about imagining or playing on it are not the classic family-friendly movie experiences you would expect. They're talking about watching porn on it. And in the third act, the climax, when we come back to visual media, film, and photography, it's in a seedy snuff film studio. In the closing scene, our survivors pull up to a drive-thru again and stare at this screen and kind of watch the film play out in front of them. This descent into madness, this erosion away of humanity. And the final shot is the photographer's pristine, old-fashioned camera in this marketplace, in this flea market at the drive-in. But he is no longer there with it. The human that this object belonged to is gone, and all that remains is the object itself, preserved, yet out of its element. I don't think I've ever gone this in depth with like the deeper meaning of film, the films I'm reviewing yet on this channel. It did really stick with me. Yeah, here's the thing. While there is substance in this film and there is plenty of style, I mean, the protagonist is a photographer, and this film does have really good cinematography. There is not enough substance to the style. There is a great overarching substance, but there are so many moments of just, let's get on with this. Let's pick up the pace here a little bit. The first act, the first 45 minutes, very good. Enjoyed it very much. It kept me intrigued. And then the end of the first act twist really had a hold on me. But there was a very steady decline in interest as the second act went on. Once I realized what the film was doing, it lost all intrigue for me. Because I could predict the next scene, the next sequence. I could pretty much predict the next shot sequence. So while I appreciate what the story was going for, I don't know if it exactly did it the right way at times. And then on the complete opposite of the spectrum, sometimes it went way too far with trying to be intriguing and mysterious and thematic, where the final minute of the movie, except for the last shot, just goes so off the rails. Art house, David Lynchian, cosmic horror for some reason, it feels like, just out of nowhere. While a lot of the film does have this slow descent into a nightmarish world of snuff, in a way, there's just one sequence of events that feels like it's out of the movie The Void, which is a very good movie. But The Void and a desert are two very different things. And for just about 30 seconds of screen time, I have no idea what the hell is going on. And I've been thinking about it for a bit, how the hell it fits within the rest of this narrative. All right, I'm recording this little part a few days after the initial recording because I had to wait a certain amount of time before I could actually post this for the review embargo. But the point is, it's the more I think about it, the more I understand it. Following the descent, the downgrade of cinema from a grand movie theater to a drive-in to a snuff film studio, she is now witnessing her own descent into madness play out on this figurative screen. Except it's a very literal screen, and we literally just watched all of this, and it kind of feels like a very unnecessary reminder to drive home the point of the movie. And I didn't quite get it my first watch through because that's way too on the nose. Like, there's no way with the rest of the movie being a very nice think piece that the final moments are just so blatant. Honestly, if they cut that 30 seconds out, this would probably be a 7 out of 10 for me. But as it stands, I did enjoy it. I do think it's a good movie. I think it's a high 6.5 stars out of 10. If it's playing in a theater near you, I do recommend seeing it. I think it would be a good time. It's a good change of pace from the typical movie theater releases, the typical wide releases we see. Anyway, again, thank you, Dark Sky, for sending this one over. I highly appreciate it. I love when you send me movies to review. It's very nice of you. Sorry if this, wasn't the 10 out of 10 review that you wanted, but you know me, I will be honest with my reviews.